And now, the survival show that once survived a battle with a ninja hawk. Howdy, and welcome to In the Rabbit Hole's Urban Survival Podcast. I'm your host, Aaron. This is episode number 157, and you are in the rabbit hole, safe and sound.
West.
So, brother man, you have been chewing gum.
Yes. Sorry.
and disappearing for a while now, but you've of course been up to shenanigans.
I've been working, man.
You've been a busy boy. You've
Yeah.
been a very busy boy. So let's start with so that people know what's going on with the ITRH farm, which is
we really do need a
we have not. So we
an
had
update on this.
we had a pack of dogs get into the farm twice, and twice in quick succession, and they wiped out all the chickens. And then they got in a third time. I thought we had resolved the issue and set it up so that the dogs couldn't get in again.
Yeah, I thought we were solid.
I thought we were done because it was like we weren't having any more problems. We were good. We'd lost all our chickens, which really sucked because we had, at that point, we were over the legal, I'm using air quotes, legal limit of, we're supposed to only have 20, but we had 40. And we were kind of in the same position with the rabbits because animal control had already said, hey, we're never coming back out here again. You guys are solid. Y'all are running a super clean, nice thing. So we'll never be here again. And we just, at that point, we were like, okay, let's rock and roll and blow it out and really kind of max out the production level of the farm.
I know that. And we had the tactical chickens, man.
And I think that was the most, besides the financial loss, because we probably had a few grand in animals that got killed. And we started crossing Americanas and Astralorps and wound up with these kind of grayish, it looked like urban camo.
Yeah.
The chickens looked like urban camo. So you started calling them the tactical chickens. And
green eggs.
We still were getting the green eggs, and we were in our first generation with them. And then from there, of course, we would have started doing the second generation where we actually start creating our own tactical chicken breed.
Right.
And then, so that all got wiped out. And then what happened? And then a few months went by and everything was golden. And you got busy with your little girl. And that, of course, is super understandable. And then you got into cattle. And not in a weird way, at least not that I'm aware of. I don't know what you and Scooter get up to on that ranch, but they're not goats, so I'm assuming you're leaving the livestock be. Yeah. Taking stock of your livestock, but leaving, what is it? No, taking stock of your lives, but leaving the livestock alone. But having fun out there.
Oh, yeah, well, and I did I set up my house as well.
Oh,
the raised beds.
Yeah, that's true.
Was trying to do the quail, and then I had another predator problem.
Oh, did you? Oh, well, we'll have to get to that in a second.
We'll follow that.
We'll follow up with that. Yeah, open loop there. And then we went maybe 4 months with the rabbits were fine, but it was getting a bit, with that many rabbits, it was a bit much for me to, not the daily care and feeding, but just, every time they were bred. I mean, that was a lot of freaking rabbits to call. And it was just a busy time for me. And I had a lot of stuff going on, plus a job transition. And also the transition of the show, trying to get the show to the point where it was a weekly show and a lot more consistent in the format and things like that. And right about that time, the dogs came back again, and they got a few of the rabbits, and then they came back a second day. I did get a phone call on the second day, and I met the dogs up there with a rifle on that day, a 22, a suppressed 22. And that was a really unpleasant experience for me and for several of the those dogs. The dogs were weird. I watched the dogs climb a vertical fence. So, and these were dogs that were not, most of the dogs in this pack were not recognizable breeds. They had been feral long enough that they were no dog I had ever seen before. They looked almost like red wolves. And somebody's going, that could have been a coyote. These weren't coyotes. And plus there were dogs that were recognizable breeds that were in the pack, but the majority of them were they'd been feral for so long. I didn't know what the hell they were, other than just feral dogs. I did have an interesting instance where I learned the value of a backup weapon because, dogs, like chickens and any other animals, will move in weird ways. You are firing a weapon at something, you generally think it runs away from you, and one of them ran right at me, and I ended up, and the gun jammed. Before we hear the rest of that story, a quick message. Help us keep the lights on. Support the ITRH show and mission by becoming part of the Roving Horde Armada. You can learn more at ITRH.net about all the great benefits membership gets you. Things like encrypted forums to connect with like-minded people, access to every episode ever produced by ITRH, including a special one that was never aired, a free copy of the book Owning Your Survival, access to the secret Facebook group, and member meetups, access to the 1-hour emergency kits for bugging out and bugging in class with special downloads. And that's just to name a few. Again, visit ITRH.net for more details. Do it today. Now, back to the rest of that story.
Oh, wow.
I had my 22 jam on me, and so I ended up beating the dog about the head with the barrel and then the butt of the rifle.
I did not know all this.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And I was at the point where I was getting ready to reach for my knife because I was like, man, this dog's about to take, because these were big dogs. These were 110 pound dogs. These were
Really?
not small. Yeah. Some of them. The one that ran at me was. He was bigger than Baron, the tactical wine.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, this is about to go to knife. And so I learned the value of, keeping a second weapon on you. Unfortunately, the dog took off before we got to the point where I was like stabby with this animal that was probably at that point going to win, but or at least do some pretty damage to me. And I think to address, there are some people that I'm sure that are listening to this thinking, oh my God, I can't believe you did that, and you're shooting these dogs. Hey, these dogs, for all intents and purposes, were killing my livestock and doing damage, and they were not coming back. And the other way to look at it is also, these animals were not afraid of humans. And I mean, they could have, the area that's in is being gentrified, and they could have very easily as a pack gone after a jogger.
Mm-hmm.
So, and animal control had already very flatly stated they weren't going to do anything about these dogs.
That boggles my mind.
I'm still confused as to what exactly, some of what they do, I do totally get. Like, okay, you go break up cockfights. That's cool. But, in any other sort of illegal animal fighting rings, which I do just have a very visceral problem with people that do that with animals. But as far as dealing with strays, especially dangerous dogs that could be dangerous, like feral cats, okay, whatever. Mm-hmm. But packs of feral dogs, that's going to be a problem for someone. But anyway, So that's how that ended up happening. And I think at that point, I finally just decided, you know what, I've freaking had enough of this. And I had too many other things going on. So for all intents and purposes, the ITRH farm is not 100% shut down, but is shut down. And you've taken home half of the cages and have started setting up and doing some quail stuff out there. And we'll get dead quail, apparently. I didn't know that. This was literally like, we didn't even talk about this before we sat down. We were goofing around out fishing in my new backyard, which we'll come to in just a bit. And
that was much more entertaining.
Yeah. But, and I think, so we're down to, there are 6 rabbits, which I'm not even bothering to breed anymore. At this point, they're just pet rabbits. And as I've half joked with you several times, you're either going to take them home or they are going to be set loose and get to, skip and hop and sing The Hills Are Alive with music in my new rather large backyard. Or even better, I'll put them across the bayou to my view so that I can just see the bunnies hippity hoppiting.
So they will be cannon fodder.
Oh, I'm sure there'll be coyote food or something's going to eat them. But it's, hey, I'm giving them a chance. It's up to them to do the rest.
Yeah, okay, I'll go pick those up. They have a better chance in my backyard.
Yeah. So what's going on? Let's start with what's going on with your backyard, because you've done for the people that saw the pictures on Facebook, your backyard setup is freaking beautiful.
Well, thank you. I had to compromise with the wife.
Well,
so I had to make something pretty.
That's good. Well, see, you're used to dealing with me, so I like kind of set you up, or for your wife, because I'm like, no, it's not symmetrical. Continue. Sorry.
So I mean, as you can see, I mean, I'm in the suburbs, so I had to do something that was below 6 foot tall. I had to do something that was aesthetically pleasing, so that my wife wouldn't gripe about it. And after the garden started really producing, she was all gung ho after that. So it was pretty cool. Everything was going fine until she woke me up one morning and said, "There's a quail dead in the cage." I was like, "What?" Walk outside and there it was, stuck in the very corner of the cage, beheaded.
Beheaded?
Beheaded. I'm like, what the F is getting a hold of that? I was like, it had to be like a raccoon, or something of that's got hands, because these are suspended cages hanging off the side of a fence that is completely covered. To even get to one of the stanchions that's holding it up, they would actually have to dip under and go about 6 or 7 inches. So, and the edges are flexible, so it's not exactly like they have a firm perch to kind of swing down on. So I'm like, man, these guys are good. Well, I've also got security cameras in my backyard. Yeah. And I completely forgot that I had a recording.
Yeah.
And so it took me about 3 or 4 days to figure out how to rewind. Hey, it's a deterrent, but it is recorded just for everyone to know. So I started rewinding it, and all of a sudden there was just big, I thought it was a crow or something, because it's the recording's in black and white early in the mornings.
Oh, okay.
Because of night vision.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the hell is that? And it ended up, I thought it was an immature red-tailed hawk. And I got all excited because I've always wanted to get into the whole falconry thing.
Yes.
And I was like, I'll call one of the guys and see if I can't get a sponsor and trap this guy. Because I was impressed. This hawk would actually fly over, hang out on the fence line to kind of check the whole area, make sure there's no dogs or anything like that. He would fly down to my raised beds and sit and perch right in front of the cage and sit there and just watch. And he kind of walked back and forth a little bit. He'd wait and wait. All of a sudden, when one got close enough to the edge of the cage, this hawk would actually jump up and flip upside down, shove its foot in through the cage, grab a hold of this thing.
Man, that's some ninja shit right
there. I was a ninja bird. I was like,
hawk.
I'm so catching that guy. Well, after a couple of conversations with a couple people and finally getting some photos, it was a Cooper's hawk. Better known as a chicken hawk.
A chicken hawk.
I'm
having some Warner Brothers Looney Tunes visions in my head now.
Yeah. But anyways, it eventually got all. I think at that time I had 18.
Wow.
It eventually got all 18 of them.
Yeah.
And all of them were just brutal death.
Yeah. Well, it's a ninja hawk, so
yeah,
I mean, wow.
So yeah, there's the frustration of that. So I'm going to have to, whenever I get swing back around after I finish all the other projects I've started, I'm going to do irrigation in the bed, so I don't have to worry about watering anymore. And then I'm booby trapping all the cages.
Are you going to booby trap them, and you're not going to just try to put like a tighter wire mesh over it, or?
I may, for the time being at least, I've got a lot of that extra chicken wire, create a barrier.
Don't forget, we still have a giant roll of chicken wire up at the farm.
Okay.
Up there. You remember, we still have a lot of supplies lying around up there. Yeah. So.
Yeah, we need to go a scooter to go up there and
pick it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got the trailer now.
Oh yeah, that's true.
And so anyways, that's where I've gotten with that, and then starting the whole ranch thing with Scooter. I think we've had that conversation before about how you can actually do it and not have to spend a whole lot of money.
Yeah, we had you and Scooter on. That was a while back.
Yeah,
and it was back in September, I think.
Yeah, that's
when we had you two on, and that's when y'all were getting started. And yes,
not very expensive.
See, that surprises the crap out of me. I mean, I never dealt with cattle. I always dealt with horses. Right. So, I mean, horses are expensive, but good horses. But I always figured cattle. I mean, I knew about the price of a head of cattle. So, but I never knew what a calf is and the birthing and the animal husbandry. Well, I'll leave the animal husbandry to you and what you two do on the privacy of your own ranch. Right.
We haven't gotten that deep into it yet. They're still trying to get old.
Leave that joke alone.
Big enough. Yeah. They're still growing out and stuff like that. So I mean, we haven't delved into that yet. We're building the handling corral now.
Okay.
So we won't be doing any. Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Exactly.
I'm 5 years old today. Continue.
And it's even more hilarious to actually see us out there doing it. And watching the neighbors from their $800,000 barn laugh at us.
Yeah.
Damn city boys. Their tattoos and their earrings. Anyways, it's been a learning experience, but a lot easier than what I thought.
See, that surprises the crap out of me because, the running joke with the ITRH farm is that we were a couple of foolish idiots who were constantly, everything we got into was always more complicated. And partially that's my fault. I have a tendency to overcomplicate things. But
you know what? But it brings back to reality what, of course, as all of us as preppers are, I can just grow my own food or this, that, or whatever.
It's not easy.
Well, we actually try to put it into practice, and man, there is a lot of work to it.
There's a lot of work, and there's a lot of things that you don't think of. Yeah. Our big thing, which we've continually gone back to stress with people, was like we didn't really give water enough attention.
Yeah,
and thought when it was like, oh, it's not a big deal, and then all of a sudden we have 80 animals. That's a lot of freaking water because rabbits drink, and chickens drink a lot of water too.
Yeah,
and shocking.
Our heat, that's our environment here, or weather. During the summertime,
too, man. But when I actually went back and looked it up, rabbits do actually drink a lot of water.
Okay.
Like when I actually went back and reread that part of the book, I mean, all I was really paying attention to in the book is what is the proper, how do you deal these cages and what kind of environment and how much square footage do they need, how much feed do they need, how often can you breed them, how do you keep a good breeding program going so you don't wind up with weird mutant 3-headed super inbred dueling banjo rabbits. That was a weird visual, but and so it wasn't, water was just like, what, you just give them water, but yeah, you do just give them water, but they need a lot of freaking water. And it just became, and it was like, okay, well, then you start trying to actually grow plants. And it was just like, oh my God. And so we bought all the supplies and never actually set up the rainwater catchment system.
Because it was just that much more of a giant project.
It was. Yeah. And it was, I think we had eight of the IBC totes that are still sitting on the side of the building waiting to be hooked up. And my mother was actually asking, what are you going to do with those? I was like, once I finish getting everything else in my life settled down and get, especially now with this move, once that gets settled down, it was like, okay, I'll go over there and deal with, Jason picks up whatever he wants and I'll just put the rest on Craigslist. Or if a listener is really wanting some IBC totes, we'll make you a good deal for anybody listening that is in the Houston area. But yeah, it goes back to, and I think the predators issue is another one of those things. Like,
you don't think you're in the middle of the city.
You're in the middle of the city. And at first when we got started with it, I thought, meh, it's Houston. We'll have problems with possums, raccoons, but that's it. I never thought about feral dogs as an issue.
Right.
And I never contemplated how do you tactically get up on a pack of wild dogs?
Right.
Which is a weird thing to now have experience with. But
it still boggles my mind because we were pretty confident of how secure that area was.
The area is very secure. For people.
Yeah, exactly. For people.
And I would never have guessed that dogs, maybe a Chihuahua,
right?
Maybe a Yorkshire Terrier could get in there. But these, and I think the other thing too was like we even put up chicken wire. It didn't matter. These dogs vertically climbed the chicken wire and the fence and went up over it. I seen some videos of dogs doing crazy things. I'd never seen a dog do that before. I was just like, holy crap. And we're talking about 6 foot tall stuff. We're not talking, or 5 foot tall stuff. We're not talking about, 3 foot or 4 foot, that they could just jump over. And when we were doing that, we were thinking of possums and raccoons. We weren't thinking of anything else. And we went so long without any issues because at first we thought possums, raccoons. And then a few months goes by, we don't ever have a problem. And so we stopped thinking about it. Mm-hmm. And then a pack feral dog show up because I think most of those openings, because they're basically like half inch, it's either there's areas where it's half inch tubular steel or it's 1 1/4 inch slat steel that forms this big giant cage, essentially, to give listeners a visual. There were some areas where it was basically a 1x1 opening further up towards the top and across the kind of ceiling area where the slat iron, the openings in the slat iron gets bigger. And so you just don't think that some dog is going to climb vertically up and then go in one of those 1 foot holes. But they did. But I think, the real point I'm trying to make here was 2 big learning lessons. The one being the importance of water that everybody harps on in survival, but it's usually about you taking in water. It's never about the availability of potable water in those instances. And then the other issue of on your farm dealing with predators, especially in an urban environment, you just don't think of it. If we were out in the country, I would have been like, oh yeah, we need to make this place Fort Knox. Because of hawks and everything else. I mean, the new house here, I've got about 3 hawks that, I mean, even the nice big window here we have in the studio, half the time I can look up and one of those hawks is out circling around, I guess, going after my ducks, my free range ducks that I apparently acquired. So yeah, those were big learning lessons. And I think what am I looking for? The biggest takeaway here is you do actually have to get out and do shit.
Yes.
Firsthand. Yes. Otherwise, all you have is book knowledge that there are, as my mom likes to say, little pinches of salt in the cooking that you just don't know about until you get into it.
Mm-hmm. That's a perfect analogy for that.
Yeah, and dealing with predators and dealing with potable water were those 2 big pinches of salt for us in those instances.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's that kicking in the reality, gonads that you just, when you're sitting there reading the books and okay, now I've got this knowledge. Okay, check that off the list.
Exactly,
man. It's not checked off.
No, it is not checked off until you do, and do it for a while.
Yes,
because the first year of the farm, maybe the first 2 years of the farm,
it was excellent.
It was excellent, piece of cake. Other than we did after the first few months, we realized, water's kind of a hassle. But it was always, we'll get around to building that rainwater catchment system and get this settled. And instead of actually dealing with the rainwater system, we kept finding other projects to do. And then it got to the point where there were so many animals that we were spending all our time dealing with the animals. And there really wasn't time to actually set up that not a rainwater catchment system to the size of what we were needing to build at that point.
Right.
So, but anyway, so tell me about the ranch. You guys have got, it's actually been easier, you said a minute ago.
Yeah. It was easier than expected.
Right. That's what I meant.
Because these are herbivores and, well, there's plenty of grass.
Yeah.
And other than, fixing the fences and making sure the water pumps, are all working, and all the water tanks are full. Other than that, they just eat grass and poop. These are pretty big cows, and well, of course, we don't have wolves or mountain lions in our area, so there's not really very many predators that we have to worry about.
Yeah,
because it is a 1,000-pound animal.
What about coyotes? I mean, we do have a lot of coyotes.
When they calve. That's when an issue gets around with the coyotes. But we also have a pair of longhorns.
Okay. There was a whole conversation about you 2 getting a donkey.
Yes. I now that I've read more and have talked to a lot of the longhorn breeders, there's not really a need for a donkey
with a longhorn. So wait, you guys did actually get bulls?
No. These are just heifers.
Oh, okay.
But I mean, they're almost. I mean, well, the Longhorns are.
Oh, it's just not. It's not an issue with. I had a brain fart. You said Longhorn, and I was thinking bulls. I don't know. Mental wires crossed.
No, the wild cows of Texas.
Jackass. I know what you're talking about. So the actual cow, the actual heifers themselves are fine.
Yeah. Well, and what the reason why I was mentioning the Longhorns is they're actually quite protective. And if they know how to use their horns, I thought those were just purely,
you think
cows, decorative. No. These guys, whenever, like, case in point, feeding time. The Longhorns eat first because if any of the Brangus come over there, they just take their horn and shove it in between their eyes and push them away.
Oh, how nice! That sounds pleasant.
Yeah, they definitely understand that horn is a long pointed tip, and people move when they press it against you. And instinctually, of course, they're the whole reason why they survived out in the wild in Texas is because, well, they're protective and territorial. So you go over there to threaten them, and they'll just kind of look at you and be like, "Really?
I'll take you down."
They're very, very cocky.
Yeah.
Very cocky.
Well, if you were that big and had sharp, pointy horns, you'd be cocky too.
Yeah. You would think that would be a learned, kind of trait, but it's actually because there's nothing but, Angus and Brangus all the way around there. They didn't pick this up for anybody else. They just naturally came up with that. Yeah.
Interesting. Well, so what, y'all got a trailer, and I guess that is for transporting for animal husbandry purposes.
That trailer is actually a flatbed trailer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it's for just hauling shit.
Hauling
Not cow shit, but just, stuff.
The UTV.
Things. Huh?
The UTV.
Oh, yeah, did y'all get one?
Yes, we did.
Oh, awesome.
It's been broke down about half the time.
I'm glad to hear that because I keep thinking about getting one now that I've got some real property, because actually wanting to do landscaping projects out here is going to be interesting.
Yeah.
Now that I'm sitting on...
You want something that can haul some stuff around versus a wheelbarrow.
Yeah, especially with... So I'm now sitting on 1.25 acres. Oddly enough, I got extremely lucky, and it's 1.25 acres in the city on water. And...
With a spectacular view.
With an amazing freaking view. I am very, very blessed in this situation. And for, I guess, to bring listeners that are newer up to speed. So my educational background was in architecture, and my primary love and passion was mid-century modern and the kind of stereotypical Frank Lloyd Wright type stuff. And what we got into here was a house built in the 50s for a famous surgeon that is about as close to a Frank Lloyd Wright home as you can get. And fortunately, was also someone who didn't share Frank Lloyd Wright's height issues. and so it actually has decent ceiling heights. And so it's a very open home. It presents some interesting security challenges we'll have to delve into another day, because the entire back of the house is glass.
Yeah.
So, but it would be rather difficult for somebody to come up the back way, we'll say.
Yeah.
They would be coming for a very, very long time up to my house with me staring at them. I might be naked, so which was a recent running joke that my mom was like, something, how are you enjoying your home? I'm like, it's wonderful. I Superman in front of the window every morning. Naked. Screw everybody else.
That so reminds ask Ash about the one night we heard something outside.
Yeah.
And I jumped up and just got the AR put together, so it was right there.
Oh yeah, you were like, I'm ready to go,
butt ass naked in the middle of suburbs. I'm out tacticooling it around the damn corners
with your wedding tackle jingling about.
Oh my god, she just laughed and laughed. I'm like, hey, I got no worries about it, man.
I gotta say, if I was a burglar or some ne'er-do-well, and if there was a large naked man coming at me with an AR-15, I think I would just be like, you know what? Never mind. Here's my money. Take my money. Please, just hearing some banjos. I gotta go. Thank you for that visual, Jason.
That's what I'm all about. It's been a long time. I had to refresh your memory.
I appreciate that. Anyway, creepy. So yeah, the ATV. I actually keep thinking about one because of the size of the property here, and as you and I were joking, like, because it is the property itself. It's 50. Excluding the home, it's 50,000 square feet of just freaking grass. There is no landscaping. There's a few trees, and it's a blank canvas. The other problem is it's a blank canvas.
And you also have to deal with your 30-degree slope.
A 30-degree slope, which counts for about maybe
2/3.
I don't think it's maybe it's probably about
third.
half an acre is on a 30-degree slope. So, but I mean, dealing with everything, it's going to be like, okay, if I order any plants and stuff like that, I'm going to have to order in bulk. And moving stuff around, it's going to be dump trucks of dirt, and it's going to be dump trucks of mulch, and it's going to be dump trucks of I don't know, gravel and stuff. And so I am going to need some kind of vehicle.
Yes.
Or a donkey. Maybe I'll get a donkey or a team of goats.
All my friends are donkeys, man. God.
There's endless jokes with donkeys.
I'll stick to my sheep, thanks. Okay. Another inside joke if you've been listening for a while.
Yes, Mr.
Anyways, New Zealand. Yeah.
New Zealand. So anyway, so that's cool to hear that it's actually been easier. Because you and I actually have barely had a chance to hang out other than one night, like right after Jen and I got moved into this house that you and our friend Sergio came by.
Yeah.
To hang out for a bit. Other than that, we really hadn't gotten a chance to catch up. And I mean, it's next to impossible to catch up with Sergio, who talks a million miles an hour. We love him to death, but holy shit, that man can talk.
Yeah, I didn't get a whole lot in there.
No, nobody gets a word in edgewise. So, but we haven't really had a chance to really catch up, and it's been 6 months.
Wow. God.
I mean, we've seen each other, but it's just been like, in passing.
Yeah.
So we hadn't really caught up.
Are you good?
Yeah. And exactly. You're still alive. You need anything? What's going on? Or random text messages while I was moving. Like, dear God, why do I have this much toilet paper? I had, as a short toilet paper rant, and I mean, I've had this rant before, but for a long time, I just left it on auto. I left a lot of things on auto order with Amazon. Like, just keep sending it every month. And in the old house, it was half the size of this new house. And in the old house, it was a much more traditional home, where this new home is very like really open.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of places to. I mean, even though it's twice the size, there's like nowhere to put anything. It's very bizarre. Like, how did I have more room in a smaller house before? And so I started just unloading all of this stuff in the old house. Plus, the old house there had been an efficiency in the downstairs, plus the garage, and I had stuff in that efficiency.
You had storage rooms.
I had lots of storage space. I didn't realize how much toilet paper I actually had.
The pains of being a prepper.
And I mean, and that's just the conversations around toilet paper. We don't even want to talk about the canned goods and the medical supplies and everything else. And now, since it's this very open space, it's like I can actually see all that stuff. So a lot of what I've had to do is which we're in the
cancel the auto orders.
Well, I canceled all those auto orders a long time ago, and I realized I was like, I think I may actually have 5 years of toilet paper, but it was also like a lot of wire rolling racks now that are going to be kind of in a weird, because the new studio is kind of an L shape, and so it's going to get a lot of stuff is going to get racked and be on the kind of useless part of the room. So, yeah, I really kind of was like, wow, I've got a lot of, as we've joked often, I have a massive pile of prepper shit right now. I have a massive pile of prepper shit, like Longhorn cattle size pile of prepper shit, because I can see it all now. It's not packed away, and I'm having to pack it up and put it on shelves and wheel it around. And right now, I mean, it looks like in the studio, which the studio is basically, for listeners, it was originally a 2-car garage that at the last minute the original owner decided he wanted it to be a finished room, which was perfect, because I was like, right away. I was like, there it is. There's the new studio. The trouble is that became the room that as Jen was moving out of her apartment into here,
the dump room.
Our poor movers, it became the dump room. It became, if you can't find a place for it and it doesn't look right in the rest of the house, it was like, oh, just put it in the studio. We had to make 2 trips, one for her, one for me, with a 24-foot trailer and 3 movers, because I filled the first trailer by myself. And I was just like, I did not realize I had this much shit. Like, I would get into something and I would just start pulling stuff out, and it was just like, my God, it's like a freaking TARDIS. It's like bigger it's like shit just keeps coming out of this hole.
But you lived in that house for 20 years.
20 years, yeah. And I think that was a big thing. Like, somebody was making kind of, there are people that are like super thrilled for you when you make the next steps in your life and you kind of level up. And then there are people that are always like, have a bit of jealousy about it or whatever. And it was like, yeah. And somebody made kind of a snide remark, and I'm trying to think of who it was, but it wasn't like a super good friend. It was just someone I know. And I was like, yeah, okay, jackass. I had 20 years of equity in the last home, and the last home, I bought it knowing the area. I bought it when the area was really, really depressed. Mm-hmm. And most people, I mean, I was a real urban pioneer. Most people wouldn't be willing to have gone into that area. And now it's like this super hot, trendy area that literally we had the first cash offer on the house 10 hours after it was listed, not shown, listed. And then later that same day, there were 3 more cash offers and 10 more financed backup offers on the house. My listing agent actually said, he said, I have never had a house that I wanted to stop answering the freaking phone for. He's like, it just wouldn't end.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And at first I did a short thing where I tried to sell the house myself for a few days. And he was like, try it for a few days if you want to. He's like, let me know if you want me to do it. He's like, just know in advance. He's like, you're going to get a lot of crazies. And it was, I am so glad I used a Google Voice number for that. I got some of the most bizarre phone calls. I was half of which I'm sure were drunk. There are still people, and it's been 3 weeks now. There are still people leaving messages. Like the sign was out of the yard after 72 hours. That number was taken away. It's been 3 weeks, and there are still people calling the number. And I'm just like, oh my God, people. Like, did you really? It's just bizarre. But anyway, so that was the point. We got into this house, and it's been interesting, and it's some things and some follow-up shows that I've been doing to this house security-wise that I think will make some interesting shows. Yeah, like automating all of the lighting in the home, doing geofencing with the lighting of the home, and starting to the security systems for the home, and making some changes.
Getting this place self-sustainable?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be a cool project.
It'll be a cool, just the security. Because you got a
water well, and
it has one of the only working water wells in Houston, residential water wells in Houston, which was an amazing thing. That really kind of was like immediately like, oh my God, yes, I have to have that. I haven't had a chance to have the water tested yet, but an Armada member actually, who oddly enough works and deals a lot with these things, gave me a contact within the city that actually could go have full analysis done on the water, like chemical, biological, everything. And we turned it on today before we started recording because I was like, look at my well. And it's like a freaking fire hose. It pumps some water.
It's got good pressure,
I'm
man.
still really curious what the original intent was with that well. I don't know if they were planning on watering the yard. I've had more than one person kind of look at the house and go, there's something funny about this house. And I always say, makes you think the original owner was a survivalist. And they all go, yeah, like a survivalist with style. I was like, yeah. I think he was. He's kind of a cool guy. And there's been the running joke that I fully expect to find some sort of hidden bunker under this house. Which I talked to a few people of trying to figure out if there was an underground thing underneath it. That in itself is going to be a bit of a project, like with ground penetrating radar and everything else. It's not a high priority thing, but it is one thing, just out of pure curiosity, because there are some very strange things about this house that just make you go, there's something more to this property than meets the eye. The well is one of those things, which is grandfathered in and you're not even allowed to drill wells in Houston anymore.
Yeah.
You can't get you can't get permits for them. You can drill, but they won't. The city's going to be none too happy about it. Apparently, it's a really big deal. There's a word for it, and I cannot remember the word. And I swore I was going to look up the word before I tried to say the word today, and I didn't do it because we went fishing before we
had higher priorities.
We had higher priorities. I enjoyed sending you the text. Yeah, meet me down at the west gate is open. Meet me down at the water when you get here. I was out fishing. You're like, how many days, how much time have you been out screwing around out here? I was like, actually, this is like the second time I've been down to the water.
I would be sucked in every day.
It's easy to get sucked into the view. Fortunately, it is a long enough walk out to the water that you're kind of like, meh. And there's enough boxes and other projects going on.
Right.
So,
which I have to give you, some credit.
You can walk.
The piles have moved around significantly since the last time I've been here.
It like a little bad little kid shifting the green beans on his plate and broccoli on his plate, so you think stuff good. No, I've slowly but surely been digging out this room. So, and it's I've had to. Fortunately, I dug out enough to get the desk going and also to get a workstation going because, of course, I immediately started little honeydew projects. One was not so little, which is running a hard coaxial and Ethernet network throughout the entire house and doing it properly where the lines are dropped in the walls and real outlets and everything because I'm insane. And so it really irritates me when people drill through brick to run a line. So I'm rerunning that. So I had to set up a workstation and it called for new tools. Any excuse for new tools.
You're telling me, man, that Home Depot and Lowe's have, I need to buy stock because, man, I'm dropping crazy coin on them right now.
Yeah. So you have properties you're now working with, but I want to hear more about, are things just really, really running that smoothly at the ranch that give me some shenanigans, man. Give me some appropriated adventures. Set Scooter's hair on fire or ass hair on fire or something. Give me something.
Here, I'll give you a visual.
Okay.
Scooter is scared of snakes.
But a lot of people are scared of snakes.
Yeah, not like this.
Not like a 4-year-old girl scared of snakes.
No, like a grown ass woman scared of mice. Jumped on top of the trailer.
Oh yeah.
Cleared up, and I'm over there with like a little hand shovel, going like, "Oh, it's not poisonous." Just trying to pick it up.
Yeah,
freaking him out.
Yeah.
You see snakes everywhere now. I'm over here flipping stuff over, and he's like handing me the gun with the rat shot in it, and I'm like, I got a machete, I'm good. Flipping stuff around, and he's like, can't find anything.
Yeah,
goes, man, I saw it, man. I swear to God.
Give the boy some snake chaps and some snake boots.
He's Mr. Safety Man. You see him with a chainsaw. He's got the whole
the chainsaw, full, helmet, and
the helmet, the chaps, everything.
After spinning that day-long chainsaw course, I can actually appreciate all the chainsaw safety stuff.
I appreciate all the safety stuff. I really do.
Yeah.
I laugh at him, but I was like, he's smart and I'm stupid, and I'm the one over here swinging it around like it's nothing.
You're the one with a little girl and and the family to feed and the projects, and you're like, I cut off a leg.
Oh God! But it's coming along. It's a very similar dynamic to like when me and you were building the urban farm.
Mm-hmm.
It's don't really know what the hell we're doing, so we'll pull up YouTube.
Which I was actually surprised out there because the day you and I were running barbed wire and had to pull up YouTube. You actually get a pretty good YouTube signal out there.
Yeah.
But there are no good YouTube barbed wire videos on the internet. A lot of them assume you have A, sense, and B, some level of experience with barbed wire. Not two idiots that have, only ever climbed under or over barbed wire, and that was the extent of their barbed wire experience.
Yeah, I've got 2 pairs of jeans that are fully versed in the rules of barbed wire.
Another thing snake chaps might be good for. I have no experience with this. I'm just spitballing here, but
there's no need for the 5 barbed wire. It just
too much.
Oh my God. It gets caught on everything. It's sharp. It sticks to you every which way. There's no way to hold it.
Well, Yeah.
Is going to get you.
It is going to get you. But I mean,
it's going to get you.
But so y'all were having real issues with the cattle at first, like breaking loose and going on joyrides.
They were young,
driving the ATV,
right? They were young, and of course they're Longhorns, so they're like pit bulls of the cattle world. Very high pain tolerances, and they know how to use their horns, like I was saying earlier. I actually caught one of them in what we call Alpha, the head one.
Yeah,
would actually walk up to the fence, stick her horn underneath the fence line, and pick the barbed wire up, and then the other cow would go underneath it, and then she would flip her head and swim underneath it. That's
smarter than I would have given cattle credit for.
Longhorns are a whole nother thing, man.
Huh.
It's not a dumb Angus.
Huh.
Angus are stupid. Longhorns, they're smart.
That's terrifying. Large, intelligent animal.
Yeah.
Or, well, intelligent enough to lift barbed wire with a...
They see grass that they haven't tasted yet.
Well, the grass is always greener on the other side. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Oh, it's funny that, at the new place, what's funny is it's one of the younger Branguses that I think actually has some Wagyu in her, because she's got horns and she's a lighter color, just a different build. And she actually runs through the barbed wire. If it's kind of loose at all, she'll actually just put her head down, aim for the middle, and just plows right through it. I'm just like, whoa.
You're like, shit, I have to deal with barbed wire again. So is that a constant thing? Y'all are having to regularly fix the barbed wire?
No. I mean, it was a used place anyways, and that barbed wire is probably 30 years old. So a lot of the posts are starting to rot out and stuff like that. So you're dropping in new T-post, setting up new H-frames, maybe running, actually patching some wire that, a mosquito has grown through it and actually snapped with the line. Things of that nature.
Okay.
It's mending fences is basically is the country term for it.
Country term?
Yeah. Mending fences.
Mending fences. Yeah.
But what's surprising is they don't have a real desire to get out. I mean, literally they have everything they want in each and every one of these pastures.
Except that greener grass.
There's so much grass that they never get to the point where they get bored of that.
Oh, wow.
And one paddock, I think, is 15 acres. The other one's 10 acres. And then the other one's 5. So how many
do y'all have now?
There's 8 total.
There's wow. Okay.
There's the 2 Longhorns and then all.
Y'all just had like 2. A mama and her calf when y'all got started.
Yeah. We didn't have the Brangus before.
Yeah. So y'all really, I didn't know. I mean, I've seen, the pictures of you on Facebook, you and Scooter looking at cows and talking to cowboys and about the cows, and looking longingly at the Longhorns. But I didn't know y'all had gotten up to that many cows.
Yeah.
How many are y'all going to get up to, do you think?
Depending on the acquisition of property next door.
Yeah, and that's a story for another day. Well, that'll be a whole another 45 minutes of
an hour.
Yeah. But I think that'll actually, to circle back to that for just a second, we should actually follow up on that, because it's actually a very interesting story about dealing with property.
Dealing with property
and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's completely different.
And you had the a bag of bees like that, a mess.
Yes, whole mess.
But not to get us off on another tangent, even though we are kings of tangents, as we were joking about while fishing. So how many cattle are you going to get up to?
Okay, so we're looking at having a total of 56 by that point, and then there's another 27 acres across the way that we're also looking at. So we'll have roughly 80 acres to work with. We should be able to, maximum you're looking at probably 1 cow an acre.
Yeah.
But we don't ever want to get to that point, because we actually want to try to grass feed these guys.
Okay.
So you're looking at probably maximum 50%.
Oh, okay. So
what? So 40 head. 30
okay.
Head.
Yeah. I mean, that's still a lot of cattle.
It is a lot of cows.
That's not,
it's a good herd.
Yeah, it's a good herd. It's not, it's not commercial, like big, big, it's not like Scout had, when you're running but he also had like 1,000 acres or something.
Yeah. And he also had family land.
Yeah.
Land is expensive nowadays.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking, if we actually acquire all 3 of those, that's close to $750,000.
Yeah. And it was interesting because the mortgage broker that I used for this house, because I know Jonathan is looking at some country land now, and he and I were having a conversation, and he was like, "Do you want to go in?" And I was like, "Yeah, recreational land would be interesting, but I just got into this house. I need to kind of let my finances settle. They've been all over the map, and then there's always the excitement of an unexpected surprise expenses, like, oh, we need a new refrigerator. Like, oh,
right.
I have a brand new electric dryer, and there's no dryer circuit in the new house because it was set up for gas. Oh, okay, there's $600 for the electrician because it's more juice than I'm interested in messing with. And I actually want it done right, and get it done quickly, as Jennifer said. Get it done, not project.
Right.
We don't want to be going over to your parents' house to do laundry.
Well, get into it. So I mean, but all you have to do is get a well on it and get fencing up, and I'll lease the property. Yeah, and I'll bring your taxes down to like nothing.
Well, and that was the thing. That was what we were looking into, because Jonathan was also looking at doing it, because like we were doing it like outside of Austin, where he was looking at was actually too far for me. For him, he's in Austin, and it was an hour and a half outside Austin. No, so it was close enough. Yeah, it was close enough for him. It would have been way too far for us as a recreational / bug out location. Gotcha. But the financing is actually not simple. The point I was trying to get to, which was I was starting to talk to the mortgage broker, and he's like, I can make some stuff happen, but it is a minimum 20%. You better have that cash on hand for that. He goes, banks don't like, he said, I've got some good lenders and you have amazing credit. He goes, but even still, he's like, farmland, ranch land is a tricky beast.
Yep.
So it was interesting. And there were other conversations that I'll share at another time about it, deeper into financing and getting into country land or ranch land or whatever. But it was interesting to hear about, and it's not a cheap proposition. And of course, there's the shenanigans of finding land, which, you can go on the big, land websites,
which are always like 20% higher.
and that, I mean, that was that. I think that came up in the last one. Like the best way is actually you got to know somebody to get a good deal on land, or be willing to really spend a lot of time searching
and knocking on doors.
Yeah. So, wow. Well, that's cool, man. I'm surprised that there aren't, and a little sad that there aren't crazier stories other than Scooter jumping 8 feet in the air or whatever, getting away from snakes. But it's been easy. Sounds like. I mean, it's been a lot of work, but it's been easy.
I mean, literally, the craziest stories have to deal with the land next door.
Yeah, which we'll share another time.
Share that another time.
All right. Well, dude, as always, it's good to see you.
Same.
I'm sure we'll bullshit for a few more minutes here, but we'll wrap up the episode here. I think the most interesting things here, if somebody was going to take away, what are the survival lessons here, are, one,
what we
moving
always say,
as a prepper is a nightmare.
Farming ain't easy.
Farming ain't easy. It ain't cheap, and it ain't easy on any kind of a scale.
Right.
And there's always unexpected stuff.
Yes.
And there's always things that, the simple things that you don't pay attention to, that just because I guess they're so simple, you don't think of them, like us with the water and the predators and things like that.
Yeah. So, that lends back to that, just being book smart about something doesn't really make you prepared.
Not at all.
Knowledge is great, but it doesn't really prepare you for that actual situation.
And we learned that with the rabbits.
Yeah.
There was a huge difference between reading about, and even we met with some very big time breeders that were meat pen rabbit breeders, and they would tell us stuff. And we're like, I got you. Yeah, I read the book. I hear you. Okay. And they're telling you the little pinches of salt, but it's not the same until you actually experience it, because there's how you interpret that knowledge, whether it was book knowledge or verbal knowledge handed to you.
Yep.
There's how you interpret it when it's given to you. And then there's how you understand it actually after you've laid hands on it and done it and gotten hurt, electrocuted, bitten, or whatever else.
Right. No doubt.
That you actually get away. So, dude, damn good to see you.
Damn
good to have you on the show. And hopefully we'll have to get back to making this a somewhat regular. I know you got a super busy schedule these days, but we'll have to harangue you into being on more often again.
Not a problem.
Awesome, brother. Thanks. Show notes and the ability to comment, ask questions, or whatever you like on this episode can be found at intherabbithole.com/E157. 157. And again, help us keep the lights on. Support the ITRH show and mission by becoming part of the Roving Horde Armada. You can learn more at ITRH.net about all the great benefits membership gets you. Things like encrypted forums to connect with like-minded people, access to every episode ever produced by ITRH, including a special one that was never aired, a free copy of the book Owning Your Survival, access to the secret Facebook group, and member meetups, access to the 1-hour emergency kits for bugging out and bugging in class with special downloads, and that's just to name a few. Again, visit ITRH.net for more details. Do it today. And with that, we wrap up episode 157. Thank you for joining us. From the Lone Star State, till next time, stay safe and sound.